Hello my friends, welcome to episode 39. It is the Warsaw Assault. There's nothing new. There's been nothing new for a long time now in our purchasing. My JU-88As are still prototypes. Which is interesting. It's like this DLC would have been a great one to take industry connections because the time is obviously moving very slowly and prototypes would actually be really good. Especially when you've got field repairs to support them. But anyway, enough about equipment. Equipment is not what I want to talk about. It does also mean that I have an opportunity to do some cross-classing. Assuming that any of these units have actually got Steamroller, which... like I, in reserve, potentially have like one tank here with Steamroller. And two tanks that potentially could be on their way. Anyway, I'll think about cross-classing in a minute. What I want to talk about is actually something that... it's something that I've spoken about in previous campaigns, but have not really sort of spoken about it for a while. And that's intent and pacing. Those of you who have watched my original Generalismus campaign will have seen me counting tiles. Compared to how many turns I had left in certain situations, and that's called pacing. So a pace is how long it takes you to get from your front line, which on this map is everywhere. It's how long it takes you to get from your front line to your objective. Now, your final objective, of course. Now, here's the thing. You have this big thing around the, you know... It looks like what you should do is deploy a load of units to encircle Warsaw and then go in and get the supply hexes. The problem is, encircling Warsaw requires 28 units. 14 for each side, I counted. And that is a lot of supply. I mean, even without the minus 10%, which I'm suffering right now, you probably have like a core slot size of 80 by this point. Yeah, it's 80, because 80 minus 10% is 8, giving me 72. Are you really going to spend 25% of your, more than that, 24 over 80, so nearly 30% of your core slots just making a wall around Warsaw? Did I say Moscow earlier? Because that was dumb of me. It reminds me of the Moscow mission. Warsaw. And the other thing is that if you do that, you're obviously going to be using like one slot units, like one slot anti-aircraft guns or bridge pioneers or whatever. If you do that, you're going to have this incredibly fragile and vulnerable conga line of troops around the entire area. And that would make sense if you could quickly knock out the supply chain, but you can't. Because where these supply hexes are, they are positioned such that they are actually there's no way to get to them without actually just having to fight all the enemies, basically. There's no way to get to them without actually just having to kill most of the enemy. And so it made me want, like, take an easy example of something like this pocket here, surrounded by the large river. Here you could reasonably expect to come in and take this, and therefore cut off whatever's in this pocket. And here you could reasonably expect to come in and take this, cutting off whatever's in this pocket. But even so, when you're attacking this supply hex, you are within attack distance of everything in this pocket. You know, there could be a tank here, or a regular infantry unit back here. If you're attacking here, it could hit you. It could come in and hit you. So by the time you're hitting the supply hex, you're basically in the engagement range of the enemy. This is slightly less true of this one, because, you know, we've got some tiles back here that maybe are somewhat out of reach, but not by much. And in terms of this one, I mean, you've got 3 hexes in totally different locations. I guess the point I'm getting towards is, without paratroopers, there's really no obvious or easy way to attack these supply hexes in such a way that you would actually get an easy surround. I think you would end up fighting the vast majority of the enemy's forces. I mean, let's say that you deployed, like, the easiest thing would be to deploy, let's say you deployed here, and you came straight down for this one, put your bridge engineer here, and then came across for this one. That's a reasonable insertion, and that would make you vulnerable to everything sort of in this area. But then what you gotta do? Well, then you've got to basically cut your way through the center of the map, which is where all the enemy is going to be, to get this one. I mean, my point is, there's no way you have enough slots to actually encircle Warsaw, and then, you know, have a strike group. You'd have to encircle it, and then you'd have to have a strike group here to come up and take this, and this. And you'd have to have a strike group here to come down and take these two. And if you encircled Warsaw, that's going to cost you 24 slots. That's going to leave you 56 slots. And then if you split that, that's going to leave you 26 slots for each strike group to hit in here and here, and for the other one to come up and hit here, here, and here. And you're still going to end up fighting everything in this area, everything in this area, everything here, all of this, and all of this, which is basically half the city. So the encirclement seems a bit insane, but what actually seems quite reasonable is the pacing. So, for example, if we started here, we have a pacing of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's say we'll go 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Then we'll count in threes backwards because we will have cleared the area. So, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Grab that. 27, 28, 29. 30, 31, 32, 33. Clear this area. 34, 35. 36. 37, 38, 39. 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. So, and there's one down there as well, but, you know, I doubt you would be this sort of uber slow. You might even be able to just leave a couple of units here to actually take this and this, but but we would see. The point is that the pacing of the map, you really only need to move forward 1 hex per turn to have a solid pacing for clearing the map. If you're moving 2 hexes per turn, you're clearing the entire city without trouble. And so, it sort of leaves the thought in my head that the best thing to do is to not attempt to encircle this at all. Is to actually just totally ignore that as a possibility. And to just simply deploy a massive blob army. I would say here. Because this sector seems like the one that's most reasonable to encircle. Just organically. Deploy here. Bring the blob together to make it cohesive. Take this supply hex, which then will cut this, whatever's in this enclave, off. And then from this position, break down to take this and this. Cut down here. You know, once again, you have this issue where if you cut down this way, then you're going to end up fighting everything before you get the supply hex. So you might be wise to actually start here, cut in, take this, and then cut around rather than across the river using a bridging tool. Cut down. Cut right and come down. And then come in this way so that you can hit this. And with those moves complete within, say, 20 turns, which is quite reasonable, you've got a critical objective hex down here. So keep cutting south to come down here, and then go left to take this. You don't need to take these supply hexes, but the thought in my head is that you could cut left here and cut across, taking these while you're at it. And then go up to get this one, and then come back down again. You know, obviously it depends on how the situation develops as the fight takes place, but it strikes me that there's no reasonable way to encircle. You can use 14 guys on one half, 14 guys on the other half. It's obviously designed that way. There's no reasonable way to encircle this without leaving tons of your troops incredibly vulnerable. Because you don't know if there's going to be scout cars or tanks or whatever. You don't know if there's going to be stuff that is mobile, that's not defending, that's just going to run up, shoot your guys and move back in again. So you might end up with a long wall of engineers, bridge engineers, that are being shot at constantly and being harassed by aircraft and all the rest of it, and you're actually burning tons of prestige keeping them alive for not much gain. When you could be keeping your ball of units tight, cohesive, and just destroying everything in your path. Anyway, with that in mind, let's cross-class this to recon. I think very, very powerful, very heavy force will perform much better in this situation than a diverse force. Okay, let's shuffle across this 3-star recon car to being a tank. Now we gain a 2-star tank. It's not bad. I wonder if the fearsome reputation scout plane thing is going to work. It's going to be very interesting to find out if that is a thing that actually works. So I got a real opportunity here to put more overrun on these. I wonder how many overruns we got, because we only had this. This used to be a recon car. We've only had it for a little bit. 7. Not bad. I should just actually leave this open. 17, so almost there. 11. 16. 0, because that's the one I've just brought across. Okay, glorious. That's my cross-classing done. Okay, so let's bring across a heavy anti-air as well. Maybe another artillery would be a good idea. Yeah, I'll stick with the light anti-air actually. I could, if I understrength this and I understrength this, I could deploy another fighter. I'm just wondering whether that is actually a good idea or not. Galland has certainly been farming EXP. Do I really need this many tanks and such? Man, I can't believe he brought that fighter up from basically no experience to 3-star. That's pretty insane how quickly that's occurred. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm not gonna really need more than one bridging tool here. Oh, let's take 2 just to be safe. Let's take 2 just to be safe. Fighters in reserve. I'm so glad that there hasn't been any fighter upgrades. Alright, let's stick this guy as standard and let's shuffle in another fighter. We'll move Galland onto this one to just help it level faster. I just put the default name? Okay, alright. Okay, so yeah, he can bring up that one. I'm not going to bring the one with no experience. I'm not sure how many fighters you're really going to need in the long term. It's nice to have a supply of experienced things. Would be tempted to bring the heavy anti-air, to be honest, but I'll settle for the extra fighter. Over-strengthen it a bit to get the most out of Galland, it's worth it. So I'm deploying all this equipment with the idea that I will also get a lot of experience onto these units. Okay. Let's make sure I didn't leave any heroes back here. With no retaliation, it makes no sense for me to deploy too much artillery either, too much infantry. It's better to just have a couple of infantry that are incredibly powerful and that I can defend. Okay, we have an enemy fighter like right there. I guess we need to start from somewhere where we actually have an airport. And somewhere where I can actually deploy most of my stuff. So now Galland in the center, dive bomber at the front, scout plane. Let's hope that fuel does not become a problem. You know, I actually have so many units here that, as far as line formations go, I actually have a lot to make a line with. Alright, so we're just going to crush in. We're going to attack this point first, because it makes sense to do so. And then once we see how many enemies are here versus how many enemies are here, if resistance is extremely light, I'll try and, or medium light, I'll split my ball to partially go down here and take this, and to partially go up here and take this. Split it into two groups. If resistance is extremely heavy, then we'll either crush down into here or we'll crush down into here and then come back out and come back down to take these two. These two alcoves seem like the most easy insertions into the city proper. And then once we've done that, then it's just a matter of smashing the center. You got this one little outlier down here, which you'll have to sneak off to get, but mostly it's just a case of having cleared these two areas, it's just ploughing into the middle area. And then once you've ploughed into the middle area, it's a case of just coming a little bit further to get this, and coming a little bit further to get this. And once we really start clearing out the middle area, I'm sure we'll be able to just rush in and get those two. This is a mission with good pacing, which is really what I wanted to get back to. It's a mission with good pacing in that you don't have a long way to go. From where my army is to the final hex, say this one down here will count as the final hex. This is only a distance of, I think, about 20. So if we're moving forward at 1 tile per turn, we're making good pace. I actually think the trying to encircle this city is a trap, and it won't work out. At least not on this difficulty level. But those are my thoughts. We'll see if they turn out to be the correct thoughts. That is it for now. I hope you enjoyed this deployment, and I will see you guys next time.